Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had them over, they would eat up all your food. It's time for therapy dudes.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Therapy Dudes. I am Andre Karkamaz. This is Dan Fox, my colleague. We are exploring the Enneagram. Right now, we are in part two of what happens to the Enneagram types under stress. Also, we are sponsored by Boulder Psychological Services. Go to boulderpsychologicalservices.com for all your therapy needs. Um, let's jump into it. The
Yeah.
last type we did was the individualist. Now we're going to jump into type five, the investigator. I wonder if either of us I don't really feel like I connect to the investigator much, but the investigator under stress, they become, they isolate a lot, they become emotionally detached, and they withhold their energy. They do not like give their energy to people. The psychological term for this type under stress that they struggle with is emotional withdrawal. So everyone knows what that is. Emotional withdrawal is just um, distancing internally or externally to reduce overwhelm. So literally they don't know how to emotionally regulate when they're under stress.
Right.
If they're an unhealthy type five, right? Like we all have a healthy version and unhealthy.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm with you. I don't, this doesn't get expressed in my psychology because, that idea of if I don't overextend, I'll say stay safe is just not
that is
wired into,
against what
right?
yeah,
It's
the
like,
helper and the one.
oh,
No,
I absolutely have, like, if I'm stressed, if things aren't safe, I have to just redouble my efforts and
exactly.
go much harder. Yeah.
Like we don't get to rest. That's kind of what we get taught as type ones slash twos. But um, okay, so in relationships, they shut down when they're under stress, they reduce communication, and they need excessive space. This is like this personality type basically is an avoidant attachment style in itself, right? Um, I mean, it's hard if this personality type, if you resonate with this personality type, relationships can be really hard for you because you experience overwhelm to the point where you don't know what to do and it feels hopeless to communicate and you have this desire to shut down and withdraw and your partner probably is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then that feels almost like an attack, right?
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming. So healthy growth direction for type fives is that they stay engaged even when it feels uncomfortable. So it's okay to take breaks. Like I need half an hour to myself, but basic communication and then stepping back into the discomfort, it literally is like an avoidant attachment. When type fives get under immense stress and they haven't worked through these issues, they don't know how to emotionally regulate, they don't know how to communicate. It shows up as an extremely avoidant attachment style. So the growth map for type fives is that they share things before fully processing. And why that's important is because oftentimes type fives will come to conclusions on their own, typically biased and fear-based um, narratives, right? Nobody cares about me, or no, or that person saw and they didn't care, or whatever. And when in reality, if you actually share what some of your thoughts are, and I know that's hard, and I know that might make you feel shame or whatever, but we all do it. We all have these thoughts. What will happen is you'll see that the narrative that's tilting more towards a bias, which is nobody cares about you or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Um, it's not true. Like we're filling in the blanks. And so you want to share before fully processing things, right? And you want to reconnect with your body to understand like where is this coming from within me? These types are they respond, in my opinion, really well to somatic therapy. You could start with the point in the body and then you can name that, name it to tame it, name that emotion that's coming up or that narrative. And then you can do something like parts work, which is like kind of like going back and forth between this younger part of you that has these maladaptive beliefs to this adult part of you that's maybe more balanced, right? And
Right. Try to
so
like have a conversation and integrate them.
right. There's a lot of integrative work for type fives because very they're very sharp, they're very perceptive, and they come up with conclusions on their own and typically since they were young, and it's hard for them to challenge those perceptions because they're so hardwired into their blueprints by the time they start experiencing all this in relationships. So stay relational during stress. It's really important for type fives. And then the growth shift is simple. It's from withdrawal to participation. So if under stress you withdraw typically and you shut down and all that, not great for you or your loved ones, because it's just going to make it harder for you to see things clearly. If you participate, even though it doesn't feel like something you want to do, even if it's at a minimal capacity, that's growth. And
Yeah.
that's movement towards the right direction. Did you
Yeah.
want to add anything to that?
Um, no, I'm solid with that, but I have a lot of thoughts about the loyalist coming up next in type six.
Okay, let's jump into the loyalists. Okay. So the loyalist, type six, under stress, what happens is anxiety spikes and they catastrophize, they become worst case scenario thinkers, almost like paranoid. It can like really bad type sixes, as in people who like really don't know how to handle that personality type but have it. Um, they become very paranoid. They need reassurance often. And the psychological term for this, which by the way, trauma can also cause this psychological term to happen in people. It doesn't mean that if you have this, you are a type six, but it's hypervigilance. Like it's part of their personality under stress. And so hypervigilance is constantly scanning for danger or potential problems and not just like visually, but like in their mind. Every like that person's tone or the way this person looked at me or you know, I
Right.
mean, you see this in borderline personality disorder, right? Like people who are super hyper vigilant and test the waters and connection and stuff like that constantly.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, um, so what the brain does with hypervigilance is it believes preparedness prevents harm. So if I can just write that off as something that is going to be bad and it's going through this negative um, bias that I have already, which is like something bad's going to happen, then I'll be prepared, you know? So I'm always looking for the threat, not the positive.
Right.
And in relationships, um, they doubt stability. Like there's very little stability that they feel in relationships when they're under a lot of stress, and hypervigilance is what's kicked up.
Yeah.
They'll do a lot of testing, like I said. They'll test loyalty, they'll test like if the person cares about them in relation to them. And they overanalyze every interaction, everything from tone to like, oh, they didn't mention this one thing, so that must mean that they're hiding it, or whatever. It becomes it becomes intense. Um, and DBT is actually what I would recommend for someone who's a type six who's struggling really hard with these kind of relational patterns. It helps it helps type sixes see things clearly. So the healthy growth direction is to develop internal trust instead of just writing everything off through hypervigilance and a negative bias and all your interactions as like they're bad or whatever. To understand that like you have value maybe or you have worth or that has nothing to do with you what you just saw. Maybe the person was tired, who knows, right? But
Right.
developing that internal trust and then the growth map around that is you act despite uncertainty, right? And acting despite being uncertain is like, I don't know if that person meant like to harm me right there. Maybe I will just be like, hey, is this what you meant to do? Again, like a close relationship is something you can try that in. Um, and then reduce reassurance seeking in general. So maybe it goes against what I just said, but sometimes you want clarity, right? That's okay to have clarity, but acting is important because what happens is you isolate a lot as a type six as well. And then you practice grounding in the present. So noticing when something comes up and you feel violated through the hypervigilance you have, right? And just breathing, understanding the emotion that came up, understanding the narrative, like not letting catastrophizing thoughts take over. And then over time, the growth shift goes from fear to trusting that you'll be okay. that the world's safe, stuff like that. Um, what do you want to say about the type
Well, I
six?
I just as a as a personality type, I know this is not like in my psychology. This is not one
Yeah,
that I do. The fear for the loyalist is being unsupported. But I know for myself, it's like I'm not the supported one. I'm the one who supports, right? Like
yeah.
that's what like being the helper is all about, right? It's like
Modeling too.
you're not
Yep.
asking for help, you're not looking for help.
No.
It's like when I'm helping somebody, it's not transactional. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to like build the relationship. Like if I'm worried about my kids and I help them out, I'm not like, oh, like we've grown closer, they're going to appreciate me for that. Like that just doesn't even like occur to me. I'm just like, who? Like now I don't have to stress about that situation that was at a deficit. I just check it off the list and go to the next stressful thing that I feel like I need to work on. And this
Absolutely.
constantly, like the opposite of this comes up for me where like I have some avoidant attachment when I'm stressed. So, if it just feels like somebody's not like particularly loyal to me or supportive to me, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to go check for the connection and try to get reassurance or, make sure that we're still kosher. I'm just like, all right, like move on.
Right.
And it's not even like I spent a lot of time energetically. It's just like, whoom, it's like out of my,
Because that's how we're trained.
yeah,
That's our personality type, and that's the proclivity we have to those situations. This is how we're going to respond. And the type six, what sucks about being hyper vigilant as being like a possibility in your personality is like what causes hypervigilance is trauma, is betrayal, is like a lot of terrible things that happen to people. Some people just have it as a possibility in their personality.
yeah,
So it's just something they have to be aware of that this happens and it happens. It's like their blind spot and they have to kind of like pay attention to it throughout their life,
yeah.
right?
Just timing wise, I think we have time right now to do type 7 and
Okay.
then the exciting conclusion of type 8, type 9 and then wrapping it all up will have to be, you know, a, an additional podcast that we either do later this week or next week.
Okay. Okay.
Um
Um, okay. Well, let's jump into type seven. Type seven is the enthusiast. So under stress, uh, they gotta escape discomfort. They can't handle being in discomfort, so they will do anything they can to escape discomfort. They have scattered thinking. It's hard for them to process things under stress, like connect the emotion and the logic. Um, and they constantly seek out activities that stimulate them. That's because they don't know what to do with all the like scattered thinking. So the psychological term that they struggle with is called, under stress, is called experiential avoidance. And experiential avoidance is trying to escape difficult internal experiences like sadness, fear, boredom, or grief. Um, and so they just try all kinds of things like they become almost impulsive, right? Um, and why the brain does it is because it's seeking an avenue out of the discomfort or danger that they feel trapped in.
yeah.
So, in relationships, they avoid heavy conversations, they stay distracted, they have difficulty sitting with pain. And then the healthy growth direction for a type 7 is to stay present with discomfort. And notice that the cluster down here that we're talking about on that pie is like they're all kind of more avoidant, these personality types. And the growth map is that they can finish hard conversations. They can slow down stimulation. They can allow painful feelings without escaping. And so they go from the growth shift over time for a healthy 7 showing up under stress is that they're able to show up. They're able to be present instead of avoidant in relationships and with themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Um as a tie into the Enneagram model,
Hmm.
the enthusiast is one of the lines on the other side of the circle that as reformers, as perfectionists, we connect with. And that tends to be for me in like very secure, positive moments, right? It's like if somehow I've fixed everything and there's nobody that needs help and everything's just kind of like all wrapped up, then I just emerge as this like super enthusiastic, like, the world's perfect, like
Me too.
everything's great. And that's just like where I'm humming along
Right.
for a while. So
That's
it's
how we
sort of
show up positively.
right.
You're
It's the
talking about
positive expressions.
the bridging expression that's like the line across, right?
Yes,
On
yes,
the
the
Enneagram,
crosses.
right?
Right. Yeah, this is the positive one. That
Yeah,
individualist one is the negative one where we
right.
just isolate. But here
Yep.
it's like we're just like in connection with everything and just totally like
Super present, very
yeah.
witty, make people laugh. Yeah.
Right,
Um,
right. Which is a fun little moment when
I'll say
somehow it's all taken care of.
it so is, and I'll say this, as a type one wing two under a lot of stress a couple of years ago when I was going through all that crap, um, a lot of the feedback I would get from my friends and family was, hey, like you're not as like funny or exciting or whatever it is, right?
Playful, right.
Yeah. Playful or like my personality would really shine with my friends and people. I'd be very present, I'd be very witty. And there was so much stress because of the crap that was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy making that I could not show up. I became the individualist in that way, that I withdrew. I couldn't like, I don't know. I was just contained. My energy was very contained and I was
Yeah.
isolating a lot. And I
Yeah.
even remember you were like, dude, like we need you back.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I just would keep poking at you. If I hadn't heard from you in a few days, I would just like send a message or a text and just be like, okay, like time to get
Yes.
going. Let's do this.
Yeah. Um,
All right. I know
well,
we gotta wrap
we'll
up.
wrap up.
So
Yeah.
this is gonna actually go into a third, right, part three of this section of the Enneagram next time, where we do 8 and 9, the challenger and the peacemaker, and also sort of wrap up this whole topic around the stressful expressions of these kind of types before we get into the final part, which is around attachment styles and relationship
Around the Enneagram types.
around
Yeah.
the Enneagram types. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be
Okay.
exciting. Okay.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.
Therapy dudes, take away your stress, put you in a good mood. If you had them over, they would eat up all your food. It's time for